Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us today on this week's webinar, The Right and Wrong Ways to Market Yourself Online as a Financial Advisor. My name is Sabrina Clark, and I'm the Director of Marketing here at Brand Yourself. I'm actually going to be filling in for Reed, so no, I do not look like that picture on the left. I'm joined here today with Sophia Bera as well as Justin Wise. Sophia is not your father's financial planner. An actor in her undergrad, she became a CFP so that she could help answer her friends' financial questions. After working in traditional financial firms since 2007, she left to work for a New York startup before deciding to quit her job to launch her own firm, Gen Y Planning. Now she's location independent and is the top Google search for financial planner for millennials. We also have on the call Justin Wise from Vestorly. He's the co-founder and CEO of Vestorly, a new kind of marketing technology company for the financial services industry. Justin began work on Vestorly in early 2012 to leverage the most cutting-edge technology and create a marketing platform that delivers business building data for advisors and delightful experiences for their clients. Justin, Sophia, welcome to the webinar.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So today we're going to talk about, obviously as a financial advisor, the right as well as the wrong ways to market yourself online. And just a note, you can use the hashtag BYWebinar if you're on Twitter. It's in the lower right-hand corner of my screen right now. If you have a question, just feel free to type that into Twitter with your question and we'll answer it at the end, as well as any questions you type into the chat box. So let's talk about why it's so important for you to leverage your online presence. Financial advising at its core has always been a reputation-based business, built on hard-earned client referrals. Unfortunately, most people forget that during due diligence, once someone's gotten a few referrals from a colleague, a family member, a friend for several different types of financial advisors, they're going to do their due diligence by searching for you online. And what they find could actually make or break that decision for going with your services. So by using, simple online tactics that complement all of the hard work that you've been doing offline, you'll have a much easier time converting your referrals. And I think most people, they make the mistake of letting an online marketer confuse them into some tactics that they don't need, or paying for services that they don't need. Or because marketing can be such a broad concept in general, you're just not really sure where to start. So on this webinar, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some of those things that you can be doing online that complement all of the great work that's leading to referrals offline. And why is this, so important in the first place? First and foremost, you're dealing with modern investors now. Whether you're looking for, new furniture for an apartment or you're looking for a financial advisor, you're going to Google and you're doing your research there. And, we found that 60% of prospective clients are actually going to look up recommended financial advisors and base their decision on what they find. You're also dealing with an overcrowded industry. Financial advising at its very core is reaching a differentiation crisis. Everyone's trying to compete to stand out from the other financial advisors that are out there. And it's those that actually embrace the tactics that we're going to talk about on the webinar are the ones that are going to get ahead and, see some more growth. Now, when you first think of online marketing, a million and one thoughts might come through your head because, it is so abstract. You might think of AdWords or, expensive display or text ads. And this is absolutely the wrong way to market yourself. And I think that this is why people assume that online marketing isn't going to work, because they go down this route. They try to throw all this money at a Google AdWords campaign, when in actuality, that's not what people are looking for when they're searching for you. Someone isn't going to Google and typing in financial advisor and hoping to come across your website. What they're actually doing is they're getting that referral from a friend to work with you, and then they're Googling your name and looking up all of the content about you online. So if you can't imagine, a potential client doing it, meaning you wouldn't imagine a client going to Google and typing in financial services and hoping to find your website, then it's probably a waste of time, and it's definitely a waste of money. Now, the right way to market yourself is to complement what you're already doing offline. You're doing such a good job to get that referral. No one knows your business more than you do. So why don't you use that knowledge and complement it with your online presence so that you can turn all of those referrals into a decision to work with you during that due diligence process when they are doing the research online. So what are some of these tactics that you can do to actually market yourself properly? The first thing that you want to do is you want to get your domain name. And this is for your personal website that is separate from your firm's website. And the key here is that you want to get yourname.com, so johnsmith.com. And they're not expensive, they only cost about $10 to $12 a year. Just make sure that you're getting your name in that domain. If you can't find your domain, maybe you have a common name and can't find it, you can use a variation like yournameonline.com or yournameadvising.com, but just make sure that your name's together because it's going to help whatever website you build with the domain rank a little bit higher in Google, and I'll cover that in a little bit. And even if you don't plan on using it immediately, what it's going to do is it's going to keep someone else from taking it, whether it's someone else with your name or a competitor or just someone who's, searching for domains and happens to come across the one that you want. And you can go to a site like GoDaddy or hover.com for that. Once you have your domain, you want to make sure that you're building high quality sites. So this is where you're actually going to start to build that content that's going to impress anyone that's looking you up online, whether it's social media sites to actually building out your professional personal website. And Sophia and I were actually, we were talking about this before the webinar about how, this is where people really go wrong. There's so many mistakes that you can make with this personal website, and it's so important that you're building it in the correct way because it is, the face of your online presence. Sophia, do you want to, kind of talk a little bit about sort of the wrong ways that people use personal websites?
Yeah, I think that people sometimes are really scared to like show part of themselves on their website, but that's really what people want to get to know. They want to get to know you. And so I think that so many people just use stock photos of things that they think people might want to see, like in financial services, like a lighthouse or a compass or um, you know like a retirement couple on the beach. And I think that just really what sets people apart is being able to have a great profile picture of yourself, being able to share some of your interests, link to articles that you've written so people can read about what how your thoughts on investing or what you think about financial planning. And just sharing that little piece of you also, like in terms of your hobbies, your interests. That's a way for people to connect with you and say, oh my gosh, I went to that college, that's so interesting, like I want to get to know this person more. Or hey, I'm interested in the same things. And people want to find those common bonds. So by sharing a piece of yourself, that really helps set you apart from people that just kind of have these stock photos up and not a nice like a profile picture that's 20 years old, and that are just talking about their firm and not talking about who they are and what they bring to their company.
Absolutely. And, that really brings us to, your website should be a destination for people who are looking you up to find out everything about you, as well as, your work with your firm and the financial advising services that you're offering. This is meant to be, think of it as, your personal online resume. It's where someone's going to go to really understand who you are. So, what should you include on your personal site? And keep in mind, this should be separate from your firm's website. So even if you have a company profile on your firm's site, you should still be looking to build out your own personal online presence, because it really just helps solidify your personal brand. And it also shows to anyone looking you up that, you're really invested in your work, as well as, you're a real thought leader in the industry, because they can see all this information about you. So make sure you do still have information about your firm on that site, as well as, your personal mission, as well as your firm's direction, what you believe in as a financial advisor and your tactics. A bio, definitely, and make sure that you're writing it in the third person. Contact info and the best way for someone to reach you. If they got a recommendation for you, and I think that this can be definitely overlooked when building out your site, but it's so simple. Make sure that the right contact info is there. If the best way to reach you is your direct cell phone number, then definitely put that there, because you don't want to miss out on leads. And then put any press or awards or accolades that you've, accumulated over the years, and just make sure that people can get the best picture of who you are. And make sure that you're posting, relevant, dynamic, and interesting content on that site. Everything that we're going to talk about for the next few slides is about building out content and making sure that you're building out the right content for people to find. And I know, Justin, we were talking about how, a website can really be a way to, leverage for lead generation. So do you want to, sort of expand upon that, how someone can take this website and really use it as, a lead generator?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that Sophia's points were great. That the website is a chance to show your personality, and another way to show your personality is to make your website a dynamic place where you want people to actually come back to, and a way for that to happen is by streaming interesting content, not just from yourself, but from perhaps third-party content from around the web that you're either automating or choosing yourself manually to get on there in a way that makes you look credible and that bolsters your message. You may have a practice that focuses on sports professionals or teachers, and you may, and they're interested in a certain set of content. That they're reading content online, right? People love to read fresh content. They discover new content online all day long. Why not have them do that on your website in a way that bolsters the message that you're setting out, and in a way that actually captures their identity and shows you who's actually showing interest on your website? We found that customers at Vestorly who are embedding our widget, our content discovery widget on their website, are capturing website visitors as email subscribers 7 times more than getting people to fill out contact forms. So you got to think about it the way you would do it, right? When you're online, you're looking at interesting content experiences that are speaking to your interests. You're not looking to fill out contact forms and submission forms all day. So when you sort of become a more natural in that way, your website becomes a natural extension of you, and also a resource for the people that you're trying to reach, and really a reflection of your brand and a reflection of your personality.
Absolutely. You really want to make sure that, it's complementing everything that you're doing offline, because it's such an important piece. Everyone looks for the website. Anytime you want to know about anything or anyone, you just go to the website because you assume it's going to be there. And your services, is not an exception. You need to have a website, definitely. And then the other thing that you want to do is to complement your website is to get active on social media. And I know that this tends to be, a touchy subject for, SEC compliance perspectives, but it definitely shouldn't hinder you from creating an online presence. The data is there. People are looking to social media to interact with brands, service providers, financial providers. They want to see that. And social media is one of the absolute best ways to build out your online personal brand and really show who you are as a thought leader, just because it generates so much dynamic content inherently. And I know, Sophia, you were talking a little bit about, why it's so important to not let this compliance issue hinder you. And I think that so many people assume that they're just going to run away from the problem, knowing that, there is, compliance there. What would you tell someone that really just wants to, cast off social media altogether for the sake of these compliance issues, what would you kind of tell them in terms of how they should really be building out their online presence on social media?
Well, I think that some advisors are doing that, and that they're not going to see a lot of growth from new younger clients coming on. So you're kind of seeing them go into retirement and having, literally their client base die out and age out, and they're not going to have a profitable business to sell because they don't have these young clients coming on. Because young clients really want to engage with you in social media and in different ways, or find you online, or know what you're doing, or that you have your that you're spending time, creating new content and being engaged in what's going on with, in the industry, in the profession. And so I know that that's something that a lot of potential clients, when they are, find my website or find an article that I wrote, they're seeing like, how am I engaged online? What types of things am I doing? And I just think that that's becoming more and more important for clients that are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Absolutely. And do you think that social media is really why people have been so reluctant to, really modernize their online presence so far?
I think that's been a huge thing. So it's easy when somebody's broker dealer says, oh, well, we just, you can't be on social media, or you have to get every tweet approved. So it's easy for people to just dismiss social media altogether and just, not give it the time of day. But I think that there's a huge opportunity to to establish credibility very quickly online, by using social media in a powerful way. And one of those reasons is because that's where the press is. So the press is often on Twitter, and they use, Twitter is a great place to really get your name out there, and have become that go-to person for the niche, or the specialty that you provide, the type of clients that you want to attract. And as financial planners, we can't have testimonials on our website, for example. So a great thing that we can do is we can post links to articles that we've written, or places where we've been quoted. And so that's, I think, a great way to show credibility with your clients without having to use testimonials.
Absolutely. And, from our perspective, in terms of the best sites to build out that online presence on social media, we found that, these four right here, they tend to rank the highest in search engines. So you'll get the most bang for your buck. And especially, Twitter, as well as LinkedIn for the professionals, Google Plus, and even Facebook, these are the sites that people are looking at, when they want to learn more about a brand. They assume that any type of, and that's what I think you need to think of yourself as, you're your personal brand, you're representing your services. So you need to be able to, leverage these sites as a brand would. And I think that, part of the reason why people, steer away from social media, in addition to, the compliance thing, is also, good content takes time. And people, everyone's busy, we're all doing really, this is an industry where, you're definitely strapped for time. And if you're doing everything right offline, you might not think that you have enough time to do stuff online. But there's some things that you can definitely do to, really streamline the process. Setting a schedule for yourself that, you're going to update your social media, 1 to 2 times a week, or saying that you're going to create, a personal blog post, once a month. And I know that Justin had mentioned that, he had a few more tips about, how do you really schedule and automate, social media sharing. Justin?
Yeah, sure. Best thing to do is just really look at the way that our customers are using it now. We have a firm in Columbus, Ohio, for instance, that was spending 2 to 3 hours a week going out to find interesting articles just to put on their LinkedIn company page or their Twitter company page, just to look fresh. With Vestorly, they've been able to actually reduce that time to just 15 minutes per week by getting into our page, creating different content libraries that are built around certain types of topics and interests, and then hooking up their LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook company pages, and scheduling when they want their roundups to go out. So those roundups are constantly being sent out to social media, and a lot of people get their news on social media now. When I want to know what's going on in the world, I typically open up Twitter, and I look at all the news or thought leaders that I follow. So when you're posting interesting news or again some kind of content either that you wrote yourself or that you found somewhere that is getting a message across that you'd like to get across, or something that bolsters your message or your brand in a roundabout way, people are going to click it and they're going to read it. So for instance, 5 ways to stop procrastinating in 2015, an article in Fast Company magazine. That's a very clickable piece, right? So if you're actually using Vestorly to source that article, send it out to your Twitter, those clicks are going to go back to your website. And those people are going to get that Fast Company article on your website. So it makes business sense for you to be doing it because, number one, it's automated and saving you time. Number two, you look sophisticated because you're doing professional content marketing in an automated fashion. Number three, you're actually able to understand the identities of people who are actually interacting with your social media content. So that was the whole purpose with when it comes to social media and advisors and building Vestorly for us. It was just, how can we get them fresh content that makes them look professional, that also shows them the identities of people who are interacting, because that is the way that they're going to actually be able to move the needle with their business, grow their business. And when it came to compliance, if it's okay for me to touch on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's usually 3 things we run into in compliance. Number one, it's no testimonials, so we have to avoid that. Number 2, it's archiving. You have to make sure you're using an archiving provider who's actually archiving your social media posts. There's plenty of them out there like Smarsh or Global Relay or Rado, and it's important to have those in place. And number 3, if you're with a broker dealer, there typically has to be some sort of pre-approval mechanism to make sure that whatever you put out is first moderated or approved. But if you're an RIA, you're really your own chief compliance officer, and it's really up to you to pre-approve the content that you put out there. But most importantly, when it comes to testimonials, instead of worrying about testimonials and endorsements and on your LinkedIn page or Facebook likes, put out shareable content and allow your clients and followers to do what they already do. They read and share interesting content online. We know that that's what people do online. So if you are at the center of that activity and you're using a tool that can actually show you who these people are, who's sharing, who's reading, who are they connected to, you can use technology to uncover potential referrals in your network and bypass the entire testimonial or even the awkward referral process by asking for a referral, and let people just send their social network your way by giving them shareable content through a tool like Vestorly. And we're seeing that firm in Columbus, Ohio that I just mentioned before, who was previously using Twitter and hoping for the best, captured 15 of their followers and now knows their names, their emails, their social media profiles, and their reading habits all within the first 30 days. So there is technology that can help you automate this, and there is technology out there that can help you make business sense out of all of it. Because otherwise, social media is really just kind of a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, can I just touch on a couple things that Justin said?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I think he just made such a good point about a couple things. One is really creating shareable content. That's so important. I really come at things from an educational standpoint, and so many people now they want things that they want to learn, they want to be educated, they want to be entertained, those types of things. So creating those shareable pieces, I think, is a great point. Another one about the compliance. I use RegEd for archiving my social media, and I think that it used to be called Arcovi, and now RegEd bought it. But for a small fee each month, it's like you can have all your social media stuff archived. So there are so many tools out there and technologies, like he was talking about with Vestorly, that are out there that are to help advisors now, and so just being able to kind of pull those things together and use them. I love Buffer app for scheduling social media tweets, so that I can put together a series of tweets that are going out each day, whether it's articles that I found that I'm sharing with my readers, or things that I'm writing or things that I'm quoted in, and sharing other people's work. I just think that there's great ways to do that, and I'm actually coming out with this social media training program for advisors called socialfinancialplanner.com, and I'm going to be giving a special discount code at the end of this webinar for just the people that are on this call. So really, really excited to share that with you guys today. So make sure you stick around till the end, because really excited about kind of the special offer I'm going to provide.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that all three of us can't stress enough, how important, this content aspect is. I think that another reason why they steer away from social media is, they're just not really sure what to share. And absolutely, start out with just sharing some big names in the industry. Follow them online, see who they're following, friend them, follow, Justin on Twitter, Sophia on Twitter, just to see what type of content that they're sharing. And then, once you're in a position to really understand it, start publishing your own content. And there's so many ways that you can get content published online. There's so many platforms. A few of our favorites right now that are very easy to use, they're all free, and it'll just really make it easier for you to create that shareable content. One is on the left is a site called Medium, like low, medium, high. And it's a blogging platform, and it's incredibly easy to use. You basically sign up for it and then start blogging right then and there. And it's definitely one of the largest growing platforms. So you can write about anything in the financial space, whether it's top questions that you always get for clients. Maybe you answer a few in a blog post, or explaining some hot topics about retirement, or saving money the right way, saving money the wrong way, just anything that would really educate someone, a potential client who's looking you up online. Another dynamic site is WordPress, which we always recommend at Brand Yourself, just because it's free to use. It's so easy to get started with. You can actually build your entire website on WordPress, but also from a blogging perspective, it's definitely easy to use. And the other is LinkedIn Pulse. If you're active on LinkedIn, you'll notice that people are always sharing articles and content through this thing called LinkedIn Pulse. And basically, once you're a member there, you can start sharing your own original content. So if you have a blog post, if you have an article that you want to share there, it's a very good audience, because, it's professionals. It's probably people that you're looking to target for your own services as potential clients. So definitely, get creative in terms of the platforms that you want to use to, create content, and make sure that, you're sharing it on social media once you do. And then the last thing that you want to do is, you went through this whole process of creating websites, social media profiles. You're now starting to build your own content and, share other people's content. You want to make sure that it can actually be found in search engines. And this is where we get into a little bit of technical stuff, but it's really not that difficult. Search engine optimization, or SEO, is, a process of making sure that your content will rank well in Google. So what does that mean? That basically means if you go and type in, your name in the Google search bar, or if a professional client is going ahead and doing that during due diligence, the content that shows up on the first page, we want to make sure that it's your website, your social media profiles, any blogs that you've created. So this process called search engine optimization is something that you can do to these sites and profiles to make sure that it's ranking on the first page for your name. And, these are just the basics. If you have more questions about the specifics of this, definitely feel free to ask it in the Q&A. But there are a few factors that go into SEO and how content is ranked in Google. In terms of on-page, the actual structure of your website. So if you're creating a personal website, the way that you build it will have an impact on how it ranks in Google. So if you do have a question about a specific website that you're trying to create, you can definitely reach out to us if you have any questions, and we'll definitely take a look and let you know if there's anything that you can do to help it rank a little bit higher. The other thing is keyword and content. if you want something to rank for your name in Google, you need to make sure that your name is somewhere on that website or somewhere on that page. So if you're creating a social media profile, it's so important that your bio is written in the third person. So instead of saying, I am an RIA in New York, say, Sabrina Clark is an RIA in New York. And also making sure that you're doing that throughout your entire, content that you create, whether it's a bio for your website to a bio for your social media site. And then keep it active and relevant. And this ties into why it's so great to use social media to build out your online presence, because it's inherently meant to be active and updated. The more relevant, the more active and recent a piece of content is, Google considers it relevant. So it's going to likely rank it a little bit higher than some older, outdated content. So this means if you have a personal website, make sure that you're updating it from time to time with new content about you. Don't let it go stagnant for a few years. And if you do have an old website from back in the day, then maybe go in and refresh it with some new content, a new bio, and just make sure that it looks as relevant as possible. And this is also why, social media is so great, like I mentioned, because you can go in and the more you update your social media and add content there and share things and, follow people, you'll be able to actually, keep those relevant. And then there's some off-page factors that affect rankings and search results. Anytime someone links to a website or a social media profile or an article, Google considers that as sort of a vote for it to rank a little bit higher in Google search results. So the more you link to it. So if you have an article or if you're mentioned in a press piece, make sure that you're sharing it on social media so that people can link to it. And that also ties into social sharing. So the more that a piece of content is being shared, and we talk so much about how important it is that your content's shareable, the more higher it will rank in search engines. So make sure that when you are creating that content, that it's something that people are actually going to want to share. And, before we go into the Q&A, which we will in a second, we'll be fielding some questions. You have 3 people here that are representing a number of services. How can we actually help you out? At Brand Yourself, we can definitely help you build an online presence and make sure that it's optimized to rank well in Google and that you can start turning those, referrals into actual clients during that due diligence process. So we do have a number of free tools as well as services. At the very least, sign up for our free tool. It takes you through the process of building out your online presence. And then if you need some help, we have our Head Start and Concierge service where we'll actually go in and, build out an entire online presence for you. Everything from the website to the social media profiles, make sure that it's optimized to rank well. And then depending on the package, we'll go in and actually update it for you from month to month so you don't have to worry about it. And then we also offer a free personal branding consultation. So if you have no idea where to start and you have no idea, how to really, build out your online presence or have any questions, you can schedule that there using that link. Just type it into your search bar and we'll actually go in and just, take a look at what you're dealing with and provide you some very specific steps for how you can improve it. Even if you choose to not work with us, you can at least have a game plan for moving forward. And I know that Justin, you mentioned a few of, your tools on the webinar. If you just want to talk, a little bit about sort of, how Vestorly can help out.
Absolutely, thanks. There's an interactive demo of Vestorly on Vestorly.com. If you just visit the site and you click see the tour, it'll give you a tour of really all the high level of what Vestorly actually is. I mean, what we let you build as a business is a fully customized content discovery experience that can be put on your website for you to display any content you want to find from around the web. And you also use that hub to distribute your content to social media, automate your email updates, and you can even use it as your press page or your blog, sending all of your traffic that has to do with your digital presence back to one singular location where you can measure the effectiveness of everything. So if you have any experience with stuff like Hootsuite or MailChimp or Constant Contact, and you're wondering where's the ROI, that is the that's the question that Vestorly is setting out to solve. And we're working with some of the nation's leading wealth management firms, and we'd like to work with you too. You can also request a live demo from one of our customer solutions associates on Vestorly.com as well, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome. And I know, Sophia, you had mentioned a promo code a little bit earlier, but if you just want to explain what that promo code will actually get anyone that wants to use it.
Yeah, so if you go to socialfinancialplanner.com, Jude Boudreau and I are launching a 6-module training program. So it's an online course that we're putting together. It's going to launch March 2nd. And we'd like to offer the Brand Yourself community an additional exclusive Twitter webinar in addition to chartered pricing for your members. So basically it's $100 off this course. This course is going to go through, what you should have on your website, how to build your newsletter list, an overview of blogging, talking about SEO search, social media, how to gain press, marketing, and then implementations to tie all that together and build your brand. So we really want to break it down in a way that's in these nice bite-sized courses, modules, so that you can really, this is really for like the financial planners that are wanting to take social media in their own hands, wanting to, be in control of their brand. And it's normally $497. So right now the coupon code is BY for Brand Yourself, 100 off, and that is going to save them $100, and it's only valid for the next 48 hours. So it'll be $397 for the 6-module course. And I'm just really excited about it because you guys are the first people that we're giving this exclusive offer to. So far it's been, $497. So I really hope that a couple people can take advantage of this, and we'd love to, really just be able to show how social media isn't scary. It's not as hard as you think, but there are some great things that you can do to really set you apart from the competition, because there's not a lot that a lot of financial advisors are doing to really make their brand online, build their brand online, set themselves apart, make it easy for people, potential clients to find them, for their ideal clients to find them. And if you think about, how much is a new client worth to you? And a lot of times for advisors, it might be, maybe it's $2,500 a year, maybe it's $5,000 a year, $10,000 a year. And you think about that, I just really encourage you to take a look at our program that we're offering, because we really think that we can help build your brand online to be able to really use social media in a way that really helps you.
Awesome. Yeah. So if you want to take advantage, definitely feel free to reach out. We are going to hop into our Q&A portion. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put them in on the hashtag BY webinar or right in that little chat bar. And again, I am not Reed Covington on the left, but I'm Sabrina with BrandYourself.com, and we also have Sophia and Justin here from Gen Y Planning and Vestorly. So let's start fielding some questions. So the first question I have is from Mike, and he wants to know the best social media profiles to build content on. Sophia, would you like to take this one?
Yeah, so I guess to build content, I don't know if he's talking about like WordPress versus, Squarespace, something like that, where you can like actually have your blog. But if he's just talking about sharing content, I really love Twitter for that. I think Twitter is the best place for sharing content, building your brand online.
Absolutely. And I would also recommend, I said it before, but, Twitter is definitely one, like you said, LinkedIn, Google+, even Facebook. You can get a little creative, just because we don't mention it doesn't mean you shouldn't join a social media site. Obviously if, you're interested in it or want to build a community there, there's plenty of other sites that you can join. But those top 4 tend to be the best for building out a professional online presence. And then they also tend to rank the best in Google as well.
Yeah, and think about who your ideal clients are. If your ideal clients are people who work at tech startups, you're going to want to be on Google Plus, because there's a lot of, techie people that use Google Plus. If your target market are newlyweds, guess what? Brides love Pinterest. You should get on Pinterest and, start pinning articles there.
Okay, we're going to take another question. This is for Justin. Diana asks, what kind of content should advisors share on social media? What makes it shareable?
Good question. I think it matters who your target audience is and what message you're trying to get across. So let's paint a picture here. If your target audience is in Scottsdale, Arizona, and they tend to be retirees, then perhaps lifestyle content is really what you want to get across. So we have some clients who are really good at putting out stuff on health and fitness, yoga, recipes, travel and leisure. So they use our system, for instance, to source articles from Condé Nast Traveler, Outside Magazine, or Better Homes and Gardens, or Bon Appetit, and they put together recipes and things like that, and they have a constant stream of content that they know that their target market is interested in. The same thing goes for technology, right? Sophia mentioned the financial advisors who might be going after millennials who work in tech startups. So putting together a feed of content that's aggregating publishers like TechCrunch and Pando Daily, or perhaps an article that you wrote on what to do with your stock options and how you and mixing in a little bit of your own stuff with third-party stuff really lends credibility to your personal brand. And this is just my personal opinion. Vestorly is a technology company, and we're content agnostic. We don't push any content over certain types. But what our algorithms do for you is we tell you what your readers are more likely to click on, and we suggest content for you to read. So that's one really neat thing about our system, is that if you are pushing content to Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook or through email newsletters, and your clients or prospects are getting that content on your website, we're tracking the trends in your particular demographic, and we're going to recommend to you, hey, we know that your clients tend to be reading this type of content, so here is more content like that to publish. So there's a lot of technology out there that can help you make that, do the thinking for you. But when it comes to the message you want to personally get out for your practice, you know that better than anyone else. It's just a matter of saving time and leveraging technology that can help you put that whole process into place, because you're a financial advisor, you're not a marketing department. So it's once you figure out that message, it's a matter of putting in the right tools.
Absolutely. So we have another question, and this one is from Michael. And this is actually for Sophia. And he wants to know, how can I get around LinkedIn's endorsement section? Anything else I should or shouldn't be cautious of? And I know that all of us really touched upon, the SEC compliance. And we did talk about, to not really, let this hinder you from social media. But Sophia, do you have any specific tips on that endorsement section?
Yeah, I think you can just hide the endorsements, or just like block that part of your LinkedIn profile. There's a way, if you go under settings, to like make it so that the endorsements don't show up.
Yeah, and I think you also can set it that you need to approve them as well. So for whatever reason they want to endorse you for something other than, financial planning, you can set that. But I think you're right. You can just completely remove it. So the next question is, and this is from Dan, what happens if there's something negative about me online or someone with my name? Can SEO remove the negative results from my search? Remove the negative from my search results? Okay, so at Brain Yourself, we get this question a lot. Whether it's you who has a negative search result, or you share the name of someone who has some negative stuff about them online, and it's kind of harming your online reputation. How do you get around it? And I think that, well, first off, the question, SEO doesn't remove anything from Google, and it's very difficult to get anything removed completely. So your best bet is to go ahead and create a really positive online presence so that it outranks anything negative. Think of it as like burying the negative stuff. So make sure that you're creating, that personal website, your social media sites, that you're adding content like articles, shareable content, that it's optimized to rank well. SEO won't remove it from Google, but by using, those tactics, you'll be able to help make it less of a problem. And also, if you are, actively building out an online presence like we've been talking about on the webinar, you're going to minimize anything negative. If someone was to Google you right now and all they found was, a negative article that you were mentioned in, then automatically, during that due diligence process, they're just going to have that negative article in their head when they're forming their impression of you. But if they Google you and they come across, that negative article and it's buried amongst a sea of really positive stuff that you've been doing, that you're adding content to social media, that you have, articles that are written by you, about you, it really helps minimize the impact of anything that's negative and really just leaves the person looking you up and that potential client with a much better impression of who you are. So I would definitely advocate for creating a positive online presence. Let's see if we have any other questions. People tell me my site looks dated. Should I start from scratch? Should I keep the site up even if it looks dated? Okay, does anyone want to field this one?
I say start from scratch.
Okay. I would say I would agree with you depending on the platform. If you built it on WordPress, I think that's definitely salvageable.
For sure.
Yeah, obviously, we would need to know the circumstances. So if you want to, put, a follow-up question with your contact info, we can definitely reach out if you have any questions. But depending on the platform, if you have control over it, then you can definitely change it. If it's something that, a marketing firm built for you years ago, it might be a little bit difficult to track down. And I'd say just start from scratch there. But definitely try to edit it if you can.
Yeah, but if we're talking like more than 5 years ago, I just say there's so many better platforms out there like WordPress, like these other ones that you mentioned, that you're going to get like a fresher look by just starting on something more contemporary that can really, really think about what is it that you want, what's the feeling you want people to have when they first come to your website, um, and how can you create that? So that's that's your first impression, and is what they see on your website. So really think about that. What feeling do you want people to have when they see your website?
Absolutely. And the next question I have is for Justin, and it's from Adam. And he asks, how do I track whether or not social media is helping my business? The $1,000,000 question, right?
Yep.
Justin, do you have any tips in terms of tracking for ROI?
Yes. Get a Vestorly account. There's a lot of distribution mechanisms out there. Very few of them can actually show you the identities of people and the behavior of what they're doing. So what we've essentially created with Vestorly from a tech standpoint is a closed feedback loop. So it's when you create your own browser with Vestorly and you put it on your website and you tweet out from it or you post anything to social or email out from that, it sends all those clicks right back. Say you have a really interesting New York Times article that you'd like to share with everyone that's following you on LinkedIn and Twitter. They will get that New York Times article, but they're going to get it on your website, your URL. So our technology is able to actually track who that person is. They could even sign in with their own Facebook profile or LinkedIn profile or type in their email for a personalized experience, and we're able to gather even more. So what our customers use Vestorly for is as the end of their marketing funnel. At the top is everywhere people can click. Landing pages, web pages, blogs, social media feeds and profiles, and email marketing. And when people click on stuff, they get the content that they desire to read. If that endpoint drives them all back to the portal that lives on your website, that's where you're able to see not just who these people are, but their source. So we've created a pie chart on our reporting dashboard that says, hey, look, you've gotten 3 new leads from Twitter this week, 4 new leads from LinkedIn, but 15 new leads from people forwarding your emails around. So you know that it's working, and you know what's working and what's working better. So other than that, up until this point, and the reason we built Vestorly is because I used to run an advertising agency beforehand that just serviced RIAs and wealth management firms. And before that, I used to work for Fisher Investments in digital advertising. And I can tell you that it's very hard for a wealth manager who runs their business on relationships to justify having a Twitter or Facebook account or a fancy website if it's not sitting them down with people who are ready to sign transfer documents. That's really what it comes down to. So how can we find the people that are interested in you? How can we know where they're coming from? And how can we repeat that process? So look for smart technology that's able to report this stuff, not just distribute stuff to social media. That's commoditized. Anybody can do that, but can they show you who these people are and where they're coming from and what their ongoing behavior is? So it's really a matter of taking a look at the technology that's out there.
Yeah.
I also think that it's complicated, like how people, it's kind of like they want to date you first, right? So they might follow you on Twitter, then they might, read a couple articles that you wrote, then they might come to your website, maybe they sign up for your newsletter, and maybe after reading your website for, several months, they decide to, engage in a prospect call. And so you don't really know sometimes what was that one thing that kind of set them, made them decide to schedule that prospect call or made them decide to become a client. But I just think the more, great sharing content you can put out there, and if you can get their email so that they can get on your newsletter, I mean, all of that is going to help. And so sometimes it's like, you don't know if was it Twitter that was the thing that, was that a prospect you got from Twitter or was that a prospect that you got from your newsletter? I think it's complicated.
I agree. And I also think that, while it's important to understand, what's working and what's not working from a content marketing standpoint, I think it's also just important to realize that you need to just simply be doing these things. And, think about what a potential client will actually be doing when they're looking you up. And, we mentioned it throughout, but it's during that due diligence process. And they want to be able to find really positive stuff about you. And they want to be wowed and impressed by, what they find. And, just take into consideration, think about how many times have I been Googled? And you can actually find that out if you use Google's keyword planner for Google AdWords. If you create an account, you can find out how many times your name has been Googled online. And, I know personally, I get notifications all the time because actually even in our Brand Yourself tool, the free one that I mentioned, if you sign up, we'll actually tell you, how many times you've been Googled, as well as, who the person was that looked you up. So definitely, sign up for that if you're interested in people looking you up. But, I know my name's everywhere. I put it in my, we have it in our email signature. We have it on our business cards. We have it, when we go and speak somewhere or after a client meeting or before we have a client call. I know I look up everyone online. Even if I go to an event and meet 20 people, you want to be able to look up, who they were so you can put a face to the name. People are doing this research even if it's not a prospective client. So just by making sure that, your online presence just really complements what you're doing offline, it can only lead to good things for your business. I think we have time for a few more questions. Someone asked, this one's actually for Sophia. Chris asked, you mentioned Twitter's good for press. Any tips on who I should follow?
Yeah, I think so. I think like Forbes, Investment News, any like press that you want to get quoted in, New York Times, in Business Insider, Yahoo Finance, think about Huffington Post, think about the places that you'd like to be quoted. And then when you write an article that might be appropriate for their readers, tweet an article to them. And when you see articles that you think your readers would enjoy, retweet their stuff. And start in Twitter is a conversation. And so I think that just engaging in conversation is really helpful, and that's led to a lot of guest posts that I've written for other blogger sites or other sites. Now my blog is syndicated by Business Insider, because of some contacts that some relationships that I built. I've had people at Investment News direct message me and say, hey, I'm doing an article on student loans. Do you have time for a quote later today? And they've, literally that's because of Twitter and because I was able to respond quickly and said, yeah, absolutely, Darla. Like, let me know if 3 o'clock Eastern time works. I was able to get quoted in that article. So I think those are some good ones to start with, and just start engaging in those conversations, and you'll when those things happen, then they're gonna it's amazing how the people that when you do engage with people on a regular basis like that, they do remember that there is a person behind that brand. There is somebody sharing that social media stuff. And so just really to start following those companies that you really admire, that you really want to get quoted in, and that you think that your readers, would also like the things that they are sharing with the world as well.
Great. Yeah. So let's take 2 more questions. The next question we have is from Christina, and she wants to ask, let's see. Okay. Christina says, I don't have time to build out my online presence, social media, blogs, etc. Is there an easy way for someone to do that for me? So I would definitely, first you want to take a look at, anything that you've created before this. Take a look at anything that you've been mentioned in. Google your name, get a sense of what's out there. I mentioned that our free tool is very good in terms of, giving you a sense of, not only who's Googling you, but what your search results actually look like. So get a sense of what's out there, and at that point you'll understand, what game plan you need to make, and if it's going to require a lot of content. If you do want someone to, sort of take the reins and handle it for you, I know that, at Brand Yourself, you can at least sign up for our free consultation that I mentioned. It's just go to the link bit.ly/Brand Yourself consultation. And we'll kind of take a look and let you know exactly how much work it needs to be done, for your own specific situation. And I also think that you need to take a look at your goals. If you want to have, if you're, that you're being Googled a lot, or if you want to really beef out your online presence and know that you're going to have a lot of content created, just be prepared for that. And if you need to hire someone, then definitely do. All right, so let's take one more question.
Can I just touch on that really quick, Sabrina? Because I think you made some great comments, but just a couple other ideas too. Think about, maybe you have a younger staff person in your office that is more tech savvy, that is interested in being able to take some of your content and repurpose that into blog posts. So maybe you wrote these great, maybe you send out quarterly newsletters already to your clients. What if that staff person could take that quarterly newsletter and turn it into an online newsletter and send that out to prospective clients as well? So I think that there's sometimes things that planners are already doing in their office that could easily be transitioned online, and it would be a great time to be able to have a younger staff person kind of take that on as their project and be able to really help the firm grow by building out the firm's online presence.
Absolutely. And even listening to you say that, to touch more upon it, we talked about in the beginning how there's a wrong way to market yourself online. And I think you also need to kind of take a look at, well, am I leveraging the wrong marketing channels, and that's what's eating up so much time. Am I still trying to do traditional advertising, or am I still trying to, put money into a marketing firm that's just not working? I think you really need to, take a look at, leveraging all the stuff that we talked about that would actually complement your offline stuff and building out your positive online presence. And if you're directing resources and time to something that's, just not working anymore, it's the old school way of doing it, then you need to sort of, redirect those resources and effort into, the new school way of doing it, and making sure that, you're staying on top of things and, building out that online presence so you can capture the most leads as possible. Okay, so I think we're going to take one more question, and this is from Carol, and she asks, how often should I blog and tweet? Is there a right number of tweets or blog posts per week to build my online presence? Okay, so I think we get this question a lot, and I think, the problem is, when someone's trying to, think of online marketing and content marketing and everything that we talked about, they assume that there's a very, black and white way to do something, that there's a secret formula that if I blog 5 times or tweet twice a month, then I'm definitely going to build out my online presence. But, it is a gray area, and it fits in with, your own lifestyle and what you have time for, as well as the type of online presence you're trying to build out. So I would definitely, at the very least, make a schedule and stick with it. If you can manageably blog, twice a month and update your social media profiles once a week, then that's much better than letting all of your social media profiles go stagnant for a few months. We always say at Brand Yourself that, you might decide to sign up for every social media site out there. But if you're not actively engaging on them, it's really not helping you. It's not helping you from an SEO standpoint and getting the sites to rank well in Google. And it's also not helping you from a personal branding standpoint. If I come across this financial planner and the first thing on their page is, their Pinterest profile, and they also haven't updated it in, 2 years, then that doesn't look as good as if they had 3 or 4 really well built out profiles. So I think you want to, make a schedule and really stick with it and bite off the proper amount that you can chew in terms of building out that online presence. So it looks like we're all wrapped up here with questions. I want to thank Sophia and Justin for joining us today on our webinar. You guys have been great. We will actually be recording this as well and sending it out to anyone who has registered. So if you have any follow-up questions or anything like that, definitely keep an eye out for that email, and we'll be happy, to field it. But Sophia, Justin, thanks for joining us today.